Hello and welcome all. So let's take a look at practice 7-1. Again, you can review the overview. I encourage you to do that. And the assumption here is simple. You have done everything through practice 6. Now this is the first of many practices you are going to have to make decisions. And the important point is very clear. There are several practices where we are going to have a choice to use the studio or the composer. You can't use both because the steps that you're going to do will be on the same project. Okay, so you can't repeat the same steps. You can't create the same things twice. So therefore, you are going to have a make a choice which one to go with. We are going to choose the business process composer. Oracle is increasing those new features and we want to show them off in version 11G. There were many things that we could do, not do with implementation in the business process composer. In version 12C, there are many things that we can do. So we are going to do as many as we can see. Now you will see later on there will be some things that we have to use Studio for. So we'll save using Studio for when we have to use it. Meanwhile, let's go with what we are going to be process composer. Starting with step one, using the total we have select in our case composer here, are the high level instructions we are going to look at validation errors and answer some questions. Let's go to the details instruction step A. And by the way, it doesn't mention there in the lab guide, but let's go back to being Mark Twain. That's what I did. I logged in as Mark Twain, and as you can see here, I have got the loan application up and running. So here we have we go. It says click validate in the project toolbar. Well, I am in the project home and the project toolbar, but validate is over here to the right. So I click right on validate and notice what pops up these validation errors. So the instructions say, well, in a few seconds the validation uh, results appear at the bottom of the screen, and it says how many do you see. Answer is 10, and that's what we have 10. What validations error appears for the review loan application activity. Review loan applications, there it is, and it says no implementation is defined, and that's what it says, no implementation defined. Next question, what errors are reported for the three gateways in the loan process? And answer is all of them report conditional branches that have been configured, and sure enough there is a gateway uh, underwriter, there is a gateway condition for that one if empty. So indeed the conditional branches have indeed not been implemented yet. So it says close the validation pane and proceed to task 2. So we are going to close the pane. See, that's right over here to the right, collapse pane. And step 2, the reason why we are going to go there, because now our details instructions for BPM Studio which we have chosen not to use. So let's go to the next page and go to number 2. Number 2 says create the 4 basic data objects that we are going to be using. Simple types reviews what they are, and it gives us details instructions, and we'll start with the details instruction right here for the process composer. Notice the icon we are going to click on the right here in our process. So we have opened up the process first. Let's do that. And the next things we have to do is we have to ensure the project is open for a thing. So once again I'll have to look I have to looking for that icon, the and we have to click on that, and now we are looking for that icon right near that say how to create data objects, and so that's the icon right there, data objects. And the plus allows me to create data objects, but notice I can choose where to create them, at the process scope or the application scope. In this case it says we want to add a process data object, so we choose process and add process data object. And now we'll just simply go through the instructions. It says provide a name for the object, give it appropriate type, and create the other type similarly. And so the first one was supposed to be called review outcome, and it's going to be a string. So review outcome, and we're choosing a string. Okay, there is one, and notice there it is. Now let's add another one, process data object, and we are supposed to call it credit rating, and it's going to be a string. And the next one is routing, and it's going to be also a string. Be careful when you are copying pasting that you don't copy and paste extra space that could mess things up you. And the final one under writer review, which is in this case also a string, and they are all listed there. So you can see the list, the string and all type, right? This is the list you can see here. They are all the with their data types. And so when you have finished, you expand it. It looks like the following ours does. Click close to close the data objects box, which we are doing right now, and proceed to task 3. Why? Because the next steps are the same steps we just did, but over in the BPM Studio. So let's move on to task 3, where the high level instruction says configure the conditional branch of the review outcome gateway so that process instance are routed back to the capture loan application if review outcome has value of reject. And our hint here is the data type is a string. Therefore, when you compare it, we have to use quotation marks around the value. Let's go through our detailed step here for Business Process Composer. Step A, place the cursor overneath more details. Click the pencil icon. So there's my pencil icon. I'll need more details. There it is. Let's look at our instructions. And it says, uh, uh, looks at instructions, and I click on expense. I click on expressions. So let's, it opens up the expression, and now we want to click on the edit button to build the conditions and click on edit, and it opens up our expression editor. Next instructions, it says select review outcome in the table and insert it into this expression. So there is our review outcome. We insert it into the expressions. You can ignore the little red circling lines. It's trying to do a syntax check, and so far it doesn't like a syntax, but we are not done. And then we want to complete the simple expression by simply saving exactly equals to reject. So we'll just that in equals reject. And again, questions often arise around here. Is that going to be a double quote or a single quote? Will with a simple expression, a double quote is appropriate. If we are using XML, literal, or plain text, we might do that differently. All right, so far so good. And then we click on OK, and now our condition is displayed in the condition box. It says close the expression editor, which we did. Click apply changes and collapse the pane. This is something that people often forget. Remember that apply changes box over here. We click on that, and it's been applied. And now we can collapse our little box, and it says proceed to task 4. Why? Because the next instructions are for BPM Studio, just what we did, but in a different tool. Moving on to step 4. Similarly, configure the uh, branch for the underwriter outcome so that the process instance are routed to loan uh, rejected if underwriter equals the following, and that is rejected. So let's watch instruction, but that's okay. Is the uh, uh, s- if you see rejected if underwriter equals the following, and that is rejected. So let's verbs instructions, but that's okay. It's the same thing we just did. We just need to get the right one. It's a conditional branch of the underwriter outcome into the loan rejected line. So that's the automatically rejected one. We click on implementations, we click on edit, and this is how now the underwriter review, and if that equals rejected, then that's the condition we want. There it is, underwriter review. If it is rejected, we want to go down that path. I'm going to click on apply changes, and now that one is implemented. And now we move to step 5, save our changes, display the validations error, and answer some questions. So our details instructions for process composer is right here. We want to click validate for our project toolbar. Let me do a save here. We want to wait until it saves, and now let's click on validate, and notice what comes up now, 8 validations errors instead of 10. And indeed that's what we see. There is are eight, now 8. That's what the question was: what validations errors have been resolved. We can see that 2 of our 3 gateways have been resolved, sure enough, and the 2 that we just implemented, and then it says proceed to task 6. Why? Because we keep the same instructions for BPM Studio. Task 6 says publish a revised project. If you are using Composer, simply click the publish icon, enter a comment, and ensure the release log checkbox is selected. So let's do that. Let's close this. Let's do a publish, and we can see what's done. We have got the log release, and uh, completed task for practice 7-1, which is fairly good. Uh, which now going to say the changes, deleting the log, going back to our instructions. That's the end of the practice 7-1. Thank you.